Hi boys and girls, it's Ms.Randazza. Today we're going to read a story by Carle, A House for a Hermit Crab. And we're going to use some of these cool felt pieces to make our story come alive. And there's our friend, the Hermit Crab. Time to move, said Hermit Crab one day in January. I've grown too big for this little shell. He had felt safe and snug in his shell, but now it was too snug. Hermit Crab stepped out of the shell and onto the floor of the ocean. But it was frightening out in the open sea without a shell to hide in. What if a big fish comes along and attacks me, he thought. I must find a new house soon. We're going to take off his shell and see if he can find a new house. Early in February, Hermit Crab found just the house he was looking for. It was a big shell and strong. He moved right in, wiggling and waggling about inside to see how it felt. It felt just right, but it looked so plain, thought Hermit Crab. Here's his new plain white shell, his new home. In March, Hermit Crab met some sea anemones. They swayed gently back and forth in the water. How beautiful you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to come and live on my house? It's so plain, it needs you. I'll come, whispered a small sea anemone. Gently, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and put it on his shell. Here's our sea anemone. We'll put it right on his shell. In April, Hermit Crab passed a flock of starfish moving slowly along the seafloor. How handsome you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to decorate my house? I would, signaled a small little sea star. Carefully, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claws and put it on his house. Here's a little sea star, starfish. We'll put it right in the middle to decorate his house. In May, Hermit Crab discovered some coral. They were hard and didn't move. Oh, how pretty you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to help make my house more beautiful? I would, creaked a crusty coral. Gingerly, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and placed it on his shell. So here's a little piece of coral, and we'll add that to Hermit Crab's pretty shell. Let's get the little starfish out. There we go. In June, Hermit Crab came to a group of small snails crawling over a rock on the ocean floor. They grazed as they went, picking up algae and bits of debris and leaving a neat path behind them. How tidy and hard-working you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to come and help clean my house? I would, offered one of the snails. Happily, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and placed it on his shell. So get the little snail to help clean his house, keep it clean, and put him right on his shell. In July, Hermit Crab came upon several sea urchins. They had sharp, prickly needles. How fierce you look, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to protect my house? I would, answered a spiky sea urchin. Gratefully, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and placed it near his shell. So we'll put the sea urchin right near the shell so he can protect Hermit Crab with his spikes. In August, Hermit Crab and his friends wandered into a forest of seaweed. It's so dark here, thought Hermit Crab. How dim it is, murmured the sea anemone. How gloomy it is, whispered the starfish. How murky it is, complained the coral. I can't see, said the snail. It's like nighttime, cried sea urchin. Oh no, it's so dark. We're going to put up the dark seaweed right in front of the Hermit Crab. He's not going to be able to see very good in the dark. In September, Hermit Crab spotted a school of lanternfish darting through the dark water. How bright you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to light up our house? I would, replied the lanternfish, and it swam over near the shell. So we'll take a pretty lanternfish and we'll put it right in the seaweed so that everybody can see now, like a little nightlight. In October, Hermit Crab approached a pile of smooth pebbles. How sturdy you are, said Hermit Crab. Would you you mind if I rearranged you?" "Not at all," answered the pebbles. Hermit crab picked them up one by one with his claw and built a wall around his shell. "Now my house is perfect," cheered Hermit crab. So he put a wall of pebbles around his home. But in November, Hermit crab felt that his shell seemed a bit too small. Little by little over the year, Hermit crab had grown. Soon he would have to find another bigger home, but he had come to love his friends, the sea anemone, the starfish, the coral, the sea urchin, the snail, the lanternfish, and even the smooth pebbles. "They have been so good to me," thought Hermit crab. "They are like family. How can I ever leave them?" He doesn't want to leave his pretty home and all of his friends. In December, a smaller hermit crab passed by. I'm going to put the small one right down there. "I have outgrown my shell," she said. "Would you know of a place for me?" "Well, I have outgrown my house too," answered Hermit crab. "I must move on. You are welcome to live here, but you must promise to be good to my friends." "I promise," said the little crab. So we're going to take our first hermit crab and move him out of the shell that's too small. We'll put the new hermit crab in and make her very happy to be in her new shell. And then we have our big hermit crab looking for a new home. The following January, Hermit crab stepped out and the little crab moved in. "Couldn't stay in that shell forever," said Hermit crab as he waved goodbye. The ocean floor looked wider than he remembered, but Hermit crab wasn't afraid. Soon he spied the perfect house, a big empty shell. It looked, well, a little bit plain, but sponges, he thought. Barnacles, clownfish, sand dollars, electric eels. There are so many possibilities. I can't wait to get started. So the new shell goes on our first big hermit crab, and that is the end. Thank you, boys and girls, for coming today and listening to my story. Maybe when you're at the beach, you can find a hermit crab and some shells and have fun exploring. Say bye to our friends. Bye.